Madame and Monsieur, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased and honored to welcome you at the 8th edition of the European Remembrance Symposium, an annual event gathering people of different nationalities, professions, or academic disciplines who share an interest in history and memory issues and take specific actions in this area. We meet here to develop a European culture of memory by establishing new contacts and possible partnerships. We will exchange our knowledge, views, observations, ideas, maybe even doubts, share results of our different activities, show off our achievements, and inspire one another, hopefully. We will do this during panel discussions as well as backstage conversations or networking meetings. This year, the starting point of our ruminations will be 3 anniversaries related to the dates 1919, 1945, closely connected also with 1939, of course, and 1989. Each refers to a different landmark moment when a new chapter of European history commenced after a war or political crisis. In each case, the architects of these new orders did their best to remake Europe as such a manner that just experienced evil could not be repeated. But were they truly able to draw conclusions from errors of the past? Even more importantly, were the situations in which they acted at all comparable? If so, to what extent? How all these experiences can be useful for us today? What lessons should we learn from them? All such questions remain open and are waiting for you. The site of our meeting is not coincidentally Paris, as it was here where the new European order was adopted 100 years ago. The Paris Peace Conference, as well as the Treaty of Versailles and the other treaties, were clearly intended to prevent a repetition of Great War horror. But the horror recurred. To what extent could the Second World War or subsequent disasters have been prevented? We will never know for sure. Therefore, the question of our ability to actively influence the future in a responsible manner remains a matter of belief. However, it is this very belief that underlines the idea behind the European Network Remembrance and Solidarity. We are convinced that the most appropriate key to the above ability is constructive and inclusive dialogue on history and memory. A dialogue focused on seeking common points, but in a spirit of respect towards a diversity of identities and sensibilities. The condition for the respect is opening up to and knowing more about each other. At ENRS, we do our best to disseminate this essential knowledge and create platforms for the exchange of narratives, experiences, and ideas. The European Remembrance Symposium, which is alternately held each year in a different East and West European capital, is one such platform. However, and with this reflection I wish to conclude my speech, there is one more completely confidential circumstance making it important that this year's edition of the symposium be held here in Paris. I have in mind the fire at Notre Dame Cathedral. Although it destroyed some of our priceless cultural heritage, it had one more effect. It made most of us suddenly realize, despite our differences, the reality and importance of common European identity and our common roots. It not only manifests itself in monuments, but remains alive in our hearts and our minds. Finally, I would like to express my increased gratitude for supporting in organizing this symposium to Professor Laurie Neumayer from the European Center for Sociology and Political Science at the University of Paris, Panthéon-Sorbonne, as well as to Mrs. Gaetan Pinchori and Morgan Rafali, both also from the University of Paris, Panthéon-Sorbonne. Furthermore, I would like to thank the director Anna Biłos and her team from the Polish Institute in Paris and all other partners institutions that supported the project this year. Last but not least, I would like to thank my colleagues from the international team of the ENRS Secretariat who were responsible for organizing this year's symposium. The event coordinator Maria Naimska with her team Madeleine Hartmann, Żana Wróblewska, Maria Filipa Więckowski and Antoni Zakrzewski, as well as Małgorzata Fezet-Czyżewska, Joanna Orłoś, Iga Raczyńska, Beata Drzazga, Jagna Jaworowska, Szymon Majcherowicz and Agnieszka Mazur-Olczak. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish all of you fruitful meeting. I wish you many reflections and new ideas. Have a good time in Paris. Thank you for being with us and see you next year in Tallinn. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here in a way in the name of Laure Neumayer that I represent. She's sad she couldn't attend this first meeting, but she will be here tomorrow. So in her name, I wanted to welcome you in this beautiful amphitheatre. That's what the Sorbonne has best to offer. Maybe the corridors are not that nice, but the amphitheatre remains quite beautiful. So I'm really happy to welcome you over in the Sorbonne. I think your reflections on starting in 1919 is not, it's not only interesting that you're having this in Paris. I think it's also interesting that you're having this at the Sorbonne. I think the Sorbonne is not only still one of the biggest poles for humanities and social sciences, but all along the story that you'll be talking about, the Sorbonne has been actually an active player of these international stories. The Sorbonne, in particular, its lawyers, its political scientists, its historians, at any steps, at any of these turning points you're referring to, I think, during the next 2 days, as being an active player in shaping not only projects and proposals for the reinvention of Europe, the continuous reinvention of the European project or international peace, but also a place where new forms of knowledge have been shaped all along that story. So I would think, for example, about Albert Jouffre de la Pradelle, who was the law professor of international relations, who actively wrote the World Court Statute of 1919, and who was a professor of international law. I can also think about Pierre-Henri Tedjen, who was a European person from the resistance and a Christian Democrat MP, but also at the same time an international law and European law professor who actually took an active part to the writing of the convention, European Convention of Human Rights. And of course, a whole story could be told. So I think in a way the Sorbonne is not just a place to be, to talk about. I think it's also a story to tell that is by many ways intersecting with, I guess, the story you're gonna and the memories you're gonna talk about today. So I won't go much longer. I'm afraid I will have to leave because of the European elections discussions that are taking place in a variety of our venues. But I wish you the most fruitful and interesting discussion and a very nice day in Paris.